This meeting is being recorded.
Great. Good evening. I'm now calling the Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District Board of Commissioners to order. The time is 7:26 p.m. Please note that in accordance with Government Code Section 54953, subsection E3, this meeting is being held by teleconference only. Because we are video conferencing, we will follow a strict protocol for the benefit of the recording. I will indicate when commissioners, staff, presenters, and the public will provide comments. If you've called into the meeting and are not using a webcam, please state your name prior to providing your comment for the benefit of the recording. Please practice considerate video conferencing etiquette by muting your line when you're not speaking and limiting distractive behavior on camera. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct the roll call.
Commissioners, I will be conducting all roll calls this evening in the same order. Please remember the order so you are prepared to provide your comment or vote. President Spreen.
Here.
Vice President Sherlock.
Here.
Commissioner Basigi. Commissioner Tonka.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
We have 6 commissioners present. And for the benefit of the recording, I will also conduct a presenters, consultants, and staff roll call. Fire Chief Kurtkow.
Morning here, or good afternoon.
Great.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, morning. Strategic Planning Consultant Scott.
Here.
Fryer and Loretta, Vice President, and LAHCFD Engineering Consultant Tarantino.
Here.
Lynx Technology CEO Patrick Keller.
Here.
Sounded like a here. Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council CEO Seth Chalet.
Good evening. Here.
Thank you. And I also noticed that Amanda Brenner Cannon with Fire Safe Council. I see you on the list.
Here.
Great. Community Education and Risk Reduction Manager Gluham.
Present.
Programs Planning and Grants Manager Rendler.
Present.
Technical Analyst and Project Manager Cronin.
Good evening. I'm here.
Budget Manager Morreale.
Present.
Events Coordinator and Firewise Coach Klein.
Here.
General Manager Logan.
Here.
Deputy County Counsel Forbath.
Here.
Presenters, consultants, and staff are accounted for.
Thank you, District Clerk Vargas. We'll now move on to item 2, Commission President remarks. I will keep this quick. Thank you everyone for their patience this evening. I personally apologize. I'm responsible for not having scheduled enough time in our closed session. It's just one of those complicated evenings. And I appreciate that this is actually a very full meeting this evening. I think a lot of interesting information. And part of this is to try and maintain flexibility for December so that if things go well, this may be our last meeting of the year. So I appreciate your patience in helping us continue on that track. That's all I'm going to have to say. Let's move on now to item 3, public comment. Persons wishing to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda may do so now. Please note, however, the commission is not able to undertake extended discussion or action tonight on items not on the agenda. Items may be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on the next available agenda. District policies limit public testimony to 3 minutes per speaker unless the number of speakers requires the commission president to impose shorter time limits. I don't think that will be the issue this evening. Do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? I'm not seeing any hands raised.
I don't confirmed. I don't see any hands.
Thank you. We will move on to item 4, the consent calendar and changes to the order of the agenda. Are there any comments from staff on these items? There's a lot of good memos in the packet. I see Marcy has a hand up.
Sorry. I did want to point out, President Spreen, on agenda item 7A1, the strategic plan item, there is some information on there that's out of date. When the agenda was submitted early due to the Veterans Day holiday, we were still in the process of planning the community meeting for the strategic planning process, and we weren't sure we would be able to have a facility for the meeting, so we planned a Zoom meeting, which was scheduled for tomorrow evening. That has since been canceled. We are moving forward with an in-person public meeting on December 1st. At 7 p.m. at Gardner Bolus Elementary School. So there'll be more information coming out to the community in their mailboxes, on social media, and on the website. But we just wanted to make that announcement. We apologize for any confusion, but we are moving forward with the in-person meeting on December 1st.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any other comments?
I had one other comment, and I don't know if District Clerk Vargas will point this out, but on item I in the consent calendar, the change to the district credit card use policy is being done by resolution for consistency with previous actions on that policy, and that is part of the agenda packet.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Are there any questions from commission on these items, or any commissioners like to make changes to the consent calendar or the order of the agenda? Great. I will now entertain a motion with the commissioner making the motion and the commissioner seconding the motion. Please state your names for the benefit of the recording.
Warren moves to adopt the consent calendar with the corrections as pointed out.
Sherlock seconds.
Oh, great. Thank you. So the item is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion from the commission on these? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this item? I see one hand raised. Mr. Epstein, the floor is yours. Are you muted?
Normally a screen comes up that gives me a timer.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd just like to make a short comment on two items, 4G and 4H. In the case of 4G, it's a contract with Lynx. I'm not sure I understand the difference between the one that was done just a few months ago and this one, but I would like to point out that the original contract had fire hydrants to be done for $300. I see it appeared again in the second and third contracts, and I guess it's still not done. And the new cost proposal for that is $1,500. I should also point out that the actual charges for Lynx was $5,500 in the first year and $19,125 in the second fiscal year. And so far this year, there's been no charges. With regards to 4H, the annual financial report, I made one comment at the last meeting that there was an omission on page 32. There was a missing percentage that showed the difference between the net change in fund balance. That percentage is still missing. I believe it should show 996%. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments. Any other public comments? Seeing none. Okay, with no further discussion, we will now vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct the roll call.
President Spreen,
Yes.
Vice President Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 5, receiving the Santa Clara County Fire Chief Report.
President Spreen, before you move on, may I just take one moment?
Sure.
I would like to introduce the contractors who joined us tonight and take this opportunity to thank Friar and Loretta, Vice President Jeff Tarantino, who joined the district as the district engineering consultant in June of 2020. And Friar and Loretta has completed many reports, analysis, hydrant, paving, and various projects with the team for the district. And Jeff, just to acknowledge you, thank you so much for your participation. You want to say a few words?
Yeah, just thank you, General Manager Logan, President Spreen, and commissioners. Thank you again for the opportunity to continue to support Fire Commission. We've enjoyed working with staff and helping collaborate both with the town and with Personal Hills. Looking forward to continuing to working with you. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Lynx Technology CEO Patrick Kelleher, who joined the district in November of 2020 and literally got us maps of our boundaries as a start to the district GIS system. And we are now utilizing these many programs and projects that are set up on our GIS platform. So Patrick Kelleher, thank you so much. And we're just enjoying working with you and continuing our partnership. And do you want to say a few words?
Um, uh, well, thank you, Jay. I love working with the people at the district. Roger, you've been fun in the past, popping comments and participating in some of the presentations. I think I look forward to doing more work for the district. It's been a good group.
Thank you very much.
If we want to address some of the issues,
Well, no need to do that this evening. We've already gone past the consent calendar, so I think we won't need to go into those this
Okay.
evening. So I think it's just nice to acknowledge everyone who's here and are such a key part of our team.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
President.
Jay. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And
Okay, moving to item 5. Item 5A is the monthly report for October. 5B is the Palo Alto Fire Station 8 monthly report for October. And 5C are the Palo Alto Fire Station 8 summary reports for 2021 and 2022. Fire Chief Kirchhoff, could you please provide those reports?
Will do. Thank you, President Spring. And good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this is for October. There were no significant incidents. There was no dollar loss for the district. As we go through the actual incident snapshot for the month, again, the only thing of note is that, you know, the summer months tend to be a little bit busier in the district than they do the winter-ish months here. And then we are still right around the 2018-2019 year-to-date mark. But overall, 89 calls for the month in the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The incident count by type is still distributed as normally in terms of how they fall. Around 50% or so is EMS service calls, which includes things like smoke investigations, calls in which it ends up not actually being what the reporting party said. It falls into service calls. We did have 3 fire calls, one of which was a structure response for the smell of smoke. Another one was a brush fire, which was quickly extinguished. And another one was the smell of smoke in an area, so smoke investigation. And again, we send out the risk in terms of the response based on the risk, and then we're coded that way, even though they didn't actually end up producing any dollar loss. And then in terms of the units that responded, again, for the Hills, most of the responses come from Rescue 74 and Engine 76 with these response times here. These are your code 3 calls with the total call count of 89. We have 10 programs that occurred in the district with 541 attendees and some 50-ish minutes of staff hours. Here's your distribution based on the call volume. So this one here was the structure response. Over here was the brush fire. And I want to say over in this area was the smoke investigation. We had 1 call over here in the coast area. And that is the report for October of 2022 for the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, I'll move on to the Palo Alto Station 8 report. So again, Palo Alto Station 8, a collaboration with Palo Alto Fire and County Fire, Palo Alto Fire Staff Station 8 in October. They had a total of 6 calls out of the station for October, 1 EMS, 4 canceled and around 1 good intent. I spoke to Chief Blackshire today and asked him how he felt the program was going. He felt it was good. I'm sharing this next report that has the summary for the 2 years. And again, we have smaller call volume. And so what we really wanted to do is capture as best possible the lat long of the calls as well as the call types. So, and try to do it in the similar format of our public safety reports. So Here's the report for the 2-year aggregate of the Station 8 staffing. And so if you go down to just this overview, and again, this is not, obviously there's staffing discontinued in October of 2021, just like it did this year in October of 2022. We got those fairly significant rains, which then we work through what is the risk level for a vegetation fire to take off. And we recognize that we can always staff up, but we agreed to discontinue staffing Station 8 after October 31st. So again, most of your calls tend to be right in the heavier months in terms of risk, between August and October. Same thing here. There were quite a few more calls in July than in the previous year. I think we worked out some of the, if you will, challenges with just the station ring downs and the ability for the comm centers to communicate a little bit more seamlessly. And again, the thing that I really want to point out here is if you look at the incident types, you have 3 fires, which is 4%. And normally the fire risk in terms of the fire call volume is around 1.7%. What we really have here is a model in which we have a mutual threat zone, and we'll see that in the call distribution. Again, I want to show that the incident counts by jurisdiction, 46 of the total 71 calls that occurred in the 2 years fell in the Los Altos Hills County Fire District's area, and 25 were in the Palo Alto jurisdictional area. So with that said, as we go to the map, and literally just lat-longed each one and created this map that's similar to what you see in the public safety reports. A lot of these calls are right along this corridor here along Pageman, which to us, when I talked to Chief Blackshire, the fire chief of Palo Alto, this is your mutual threat zone. We want to keep incidents small because these are challenging areas to get to in terms of just the winding road. And we feel that the model has worked really well in terms of this hard to serve or more rural area, if you will, for between the 2 jurisdictional areas. So again, you've got this purple area, which is the Palo Alto area, and then we've got the Los Altos Hills County Fire District area here in the black. And this is the distribution of the calls for the 2-year aggregate. Got a couple of fires, or what did it say up here? I think 3 fires. Of those service calls, I looked at them, and I'm not going to share this screen, but a lot of them were smoke investigations, cable wires only, meaning there was a wire call in which they were investigating what was the wire and was it a threat, was it a hazard. We have a lot of calls in which there was construction dust. Possible smoke in the area was from San Mateo County. So again, when you have a fire that's or smoke that's coming from another jurisdiction, having the ability to have a mutual threat zone area in which the partnership along that corridor really gets eyes on what's going on early in an incident or early on just in general, just really helps, I think, protect both Palo Alto jurisdictional area as well as the Los Altos Hills County Fire District area. So with that said, that is the aggregate of the 2-year summary for the station staffing. This first map is all calls in the 2 years. And then we did break it down by, this is just 2021's data in terms of call volume distribution, and here is 2022's data. Sometimes the staffing is on patrol. They may be going quickly to go get a need for the station, and then they end up finding themselves attached to a call over here, but it's still within the district's boundary or very close thereof. And that's the end of that report. I'll bring this back up here if there's any questions.
Thank you. Very interesting. Any commissioner questions or comments? Okay, let's see. Any public comment on this item? I see Mr. Epstein has his hand up. You have the floor.
Alan, I think you're muted.
Yes, my questions relate to the number of canceled calls. In this month, 4 out of 6 calls were canceled, and in the in the month of August, 4 out of 9 calls were canceled. I don't see those numbers being reported in the statistics. And as you mentioned, the fire calls aren't necessarily fires. As you mentioned, there are suspicions of fires, and in many cases, well, in most cases, turned out not to be fires. Thank you very much for doing the report. Appreciate it. I think the information is useful in terms of the district making decisions about when to staff and how to staff that station. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate it. Any other public comments? Not seeing any. Great. We will now move on to item 6. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate your time and efforts.
Thank you. And if there's not a December meeting, I hope everyone a safe and a happy holiday season.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Item 6 is the General Manager report. General Manager Logan, please present this report. Already putting us in a festive mood, I see. And you're muted, I think.
Okay, we'll have to start over again. Here we go. And you can see the screen, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the cover of the GM report is the district team, and we're wishing everyone the joys of the season of health and happiness as we close 2022 and welcome 2023. This photo marks our first district staff gathering and the start of the holidays. That said, I would say that we do know how to throw a good party, and we all really know how to have great fun. So slide 2 will tee up what's to come here. And this slide tees up the meeting tonight and is the foundation of the district's programs and projects. It's a recent news report, and which is a quick summary about the reductions of wildfire events in 2022. CAL FIRE attributed the reduction to fair weather, and then went on to contribute the reduction to community wildfire reduction programs and actions by property owners to help reduce wildfire risk. So that was presented. As we know, we cannot control the weather or nature, but Los Altos Hills County Fire District does provide the resources to mitigate wildfire risk. And with that said, this is about a, 10-second clip. Corey, could you show this clip from your screen, please? Don't hear any audio.
Let's try that again. Sorry.
Sure.
Brought a lot of rain to the Bay Area, and that is helping to ease wildfire concerns. November's been one of the worst months for deadly wind-driven wildfires in recent years in our state. CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service say they've battled nearly 900 fewer fires than this time last year. This year's 362,000 acres burned due to wildfires in California, compared to the 2.5 million that burned last year. In addition to the favorable weather lately, officials point to community fire reduction programs and action by property owners to help reduce wildfire risk as factors for the drop. Nice to have a
Okay, so with that clip, let me move on to the next slide. Which again tees up a very important topic, and that is the discussion about community wildfire reduction programs and action by property owners. and the county efforts to partner with Fire Safe Council and county agencies to develop a county-wide community wildfire protection plan. And with that, Eugenia, could you sign on and maybe make a few comments about this slide, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Jay. This is just to bring everyone up to date on what has happened between the last meeting and this meeting. The Board of Supervisor districts, the stakeholder meetings have been all set up for December. And we have Amanda and Seth on the meeting tonight, and they've been working hard on that. The dates for those have been put on the project website, which is right here on our screen. The advisory team was formed and the first meeting was held. In the last meeting, you heard about the invitations going out to all the different agencies in the county, and we got back a large amount of participation and had the first meeting. Los Altos Hills County Fire District and the town of Los Altos both have staff members on the advisory team. And then our annex, parallels along these efforts. And we, as you know, from the last meeting, we have hired our consultant to help us update our index, and our first meeting with them is this week. So we will synchronize our annex updates with all of the templates that will come from the countywide plan to make sure that we're providing all the information that's asked for. And then in the lower corner again is the webpage for the project. That's where the updates happen, and any of the countywide meetings are listed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eugenia. And then moving on to the next slide, the November 15th, 2022 memo report, which is attached to the GM report as item 6B, is to share with the commission and public the information and responses to questions that were asked during public comments. These questions and responses are pertaining to the fire reports that were presented at the September 20th and the October 18th, 2022 commission meeting. And those are there for your reading in the packet. President Spring, that concludes the general manager report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, General Manager Logan. Any discussion from the commission? Any comments? Seeing none. Any public comment on that? I see Alan has a question. Alan, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to point out to you that if you look at the item that shows when the CWPP meetings are being held, the District 5 meeting by Board of Supervisor is being held on the same night that you've scheduled your strategic planning meeting at almost the exact same time. So I just want to make you aware of that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Everyone take note of that. Let's see, we will now move on to item 7, report on the development of the successor strategic plan. Strategic planning consultant Scott, could you please introduce this report?
Yes, thank you, President Spreen. Corey, can I share my slides, please? And as I pull those up, the ad hoc subcommittee on the strategic plan has been having some substantive discussion about the vision forward for the next 5 years. And the slides here are ready to go, and I will turn it over to the ad hoc chair, Commissioner Warren.
Thank you very much. All right, next slide, please. All right, so as many of you are aware, the subcommittee meets consists of myself, Commissioner Basigi, and Commissioner Sherlock, and we've been meeting with the assistance of staff, several times. So we've got some exciting things to share with the commission tonight. Next slide, please. All right, so as was talked about earlier, we are going to have community input for the strategic plan because this is vital. This is the chance to gather input directly from the, probably the most, in my opinion, probably the most important stakeholders in this, which is the community, the residents. And we are able to do this in person. We felt strongly that, after almost coming up on 2.5, 3 years of Zoom, that we wanted to be able to sit down in a personable environment and be able to gather community input. And so the staff has been working on this. We have we're going to hold this at Gardner Bolus Elementary School and the evening of December 1st to gather community input and this is really an important chance for us to listen and gather that really important data from our residents and what they're looking for the fire district in the next 5 years. So as consultant Scott said, these mailers are about to go out, and we'll also be advertising this via social media and email. All right, please pass it on to your neighbors, your friends, and let them know this is going to happen on the 1st. All right, next slide.
Sorry.
Okay, so here we are. So the way we've structured our discussion around the strategic plan is that we've broken it down into 4 strategic goals. And we've got a lot of slides here, and I'm actually not going to read them all as I originally intended. We're running a bit long tonight, and everyone else can read, but I want to touch on them. We really have, we've clarified it down to 4 really important strategic goals, which is prevention, protection, and resiliency, which is the critically important responsibilities we have around protect community members' life and their property and space and structures. And so that's number 1. Number 2 is preparedness, and that is that what do we take the measures to help our residents prepare their homes, their community to prepare for wildfires and earthquakes. We sometimes forget that in our discussions, but I know that's usually an important part of the whole CERT discussion. 3rd is infrastructure. We are the stewards of physical assets. That infrastructure is, our hydrants, the fire station at El Monte. And so we need to make sure that we enhance that infrastructure and that we have a plan to enhance it and sustain it and improve it moving forward. And then finally, and part of that is also our digital assets, as that becomes more and more important as we move forward. And those are our public records that we need to make sure are accessible. Just those kind of digital assets when I bring that up. And 4th is sustainability around the district, the staff, and our assets. How do we build a team to go the distance? How do we build an infrastructure and an organization that will be here long, into the future after the 5 years, that we leave it better than we found it, type of aspect. Next slide. So those are the 4 strategic goals. So then then we've got objectives underneath it. And I'm not going to go through reading these all, in detail. Funding our programs to protect life, safety, and resiliency, preparedness, infrastructure, and sustainability. And then let's go to the next slide. And then we break down underneath those objectives for each of them examples of the initiatives that would that support those objectives. So we've got our goal, our objectives, and then examples of initiatives that align to those goals. And so this is the initiatives for goal number 1, prevention, protection, resiliency. Next slide, please. Here are the initiatives for preparedness. Next slide. Then for infrastructure. And last slide, please. And sustainability. So I know that I've rushed through this. Hopefully everyone did their homework and pre-read the package. And so what I'd like to do we have one more slide, Marcy? Okay, so before we wrap it up, what I want to do is that I want to get a sense of the commission that this is the first time we've shared the goals and the objectives and the initiatives that support them. And I want to solicit comments and feedback from the rest of the commission this evening to make sure that we are going in the right direction and input for changes, corrections, additions that you would like to see. So Roger, I'm asking that we open this up for discussion from the
Yep.
commission input right now.
Great. Any other comments from other commissioners before I throw my 2 cents in? Seeing there's, I'm just going to say that, first of all, I see the incredible amount of work that went into this already. So it's really wonderful to see that committee spending that much time on it. And I applaud your daring to have an in-person meeting. One of the first I've seen. Second thing I'll just comment real quickly is that I like the fact that it overlaps so much with what you're about to hear in the budget discussion. So I think that there's a strong, these threads are very strong throughout what we're doing. And it's great that this lines up this way. I see George has a comment.
Oh, I just wanted to endorse what you're doing. I think you're headed the right direction. It looks very methodical and thorough. The public meeting, it sounds like a good idea. I hope we get people to go, but you know, whatever we do get, it'll help us.
Great, thanks. Any other comments? Seeing none, I guess that's it for you, Mark. Any other final words?
Well, you know, any public comment? I know we're gonna have the public meeting on the 1st, but if there's any of the public who would like to provide their thoughts.
Yep, you have one public comment here. Alan?
I'm the only one here, so since you've asked, I'll be happy to give my comments. I would like to come to the meeting, but as I pointed out, the CWPP meeting for this area is occurring on the same night. So hopefully the 2 meetings can find a different night to meet on, because I think both of them are important meetings to attend. I agree with everything that's been said. I think the approach you're taking is excellent and comprehensive. I guess I'd just like to say that I would like to see more work done on risk assessment in our area, more comprehensive in that standpoint, and if more could be done to support residents. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, so Roger, I think I'll just wrap up. So we've got the public meeting on the 1st from 7 to 8, and please pass it on to your friends, your neighbors, people you know in the district. Come one, come all. We'd like to get the community's input. Thank you. And whoever's tuning their guitar.
Great, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We will now move on to item 8, receiving the financial and district clerk reports. Item 8A is the presentation from the Standing Commission Budget Subcommittee pertaining to a special meeting held on November 3rd of this year to develop the draft fiscal year 2023 to 24 budget. And item 8B is the preliminary draft budget itself. So let's see, I guess we will start off with item 8A, and I will actually begin this presentation. Yes, that's perfect. We're going to start. So the purpose of this presentation is really to present the key aspects of this draft budget, and not just the numbers, but the themes that drove the generation of this budget, and give context to numbers. And this really should reflect our plans of what we're doing and how we're doing it for a period that stretches out a year and a half into the future. So a lot of work goes into making this coherent. We want to show tonight the highlights and the big picture overview. And the goal here is to get feedback from the commissioners and the public on whether it reflects an optimized and effective organizational plan. And does it fit with the strategic goals of the organization? Now, we can't look at every cell in the spreadsheet at a meeting like this. So tonight, we're going to show the expected revenues, but then we'll go through all the major spending areas with a focus on how these proposed expenditures fit into the mission and our strategic initiatives. We'll also discuss how this year's budget plans to use some of our available fund balance for life and safety related projects, and also to provide resources needed to implement those projects. Now, a quick note on this. The meeting is set up as a presentation, but there's several different presenters along the way. So I'll be watching for commissioners to raise your hands, and we may wait until the end of a section to answer those questions, but please feel free to put your hand up and discuss, and we'll take public comment at the end. Staff will be taking note of any comments from the commissioners or public, both for recommendations or to answer questions. because we'll be refining this budget towards the next draft in January, when there's going to be another opportunity for discussion. And we'll show that schedule at the end. Next slide, please. So just to share a little on how this budget came to be. Coincidentally, I've been a member of the budget subcommittee for the past, I think it's 4 years actually. So I've been able to witness that every year we've taken a more advanced approach at tackling the budget in a more comprehensive and professional and strategic way. And it really mirrors the advances of our staff and the activities that we're doing, because it means we have more expertise and experience to bring to bear here. I was particularly pleased this year to see the entire staff be involved in this effort, really as a deep self-evaluation, constantly keeping in mind the mission of the district. I'm not going to read it to you here. You can all see it there and you should know it. But what I want to say is that the way we moved from there to a budget is to answer 4 questions. What should we do? And what's needed to do that? And then what can we do? What are we in position to do? And what are our limiting factors? In addressing what should we do, we relied on keeping consistent and transparent strategic direction using 2 of these 3 pillars: the strategic plan, which has been guiding us for the last 7 years, and the CWPP Annex 4, which really combines with current advances and practices in fire science. This budget is meant to be the 3rd pillar that really aligns with those 2 documents to accurately predict and describe what we do and how we do it. And ultimately to define the chart of services we provide to our residents, which show our taxpayers the programs and projects and operations that their tax money is paying for. Next slide, please. Okay, so starting from those 2 documents, we identified 5 foundational themes that informed everything that came into the budget. Seriously, this really underlaid everything. And these 5 guided all the collaboration that we built out each portion with. And you can see it lines up pretty well with the strategic plan that we just saw. First is fiscal strength. As you know, we have a tradition of fiscal responsibility, and our available fund balance has resulted from this tradition, and that enables a heightened emphasis this year on the execution of really valued community projects. Second, this budget continues our focus on life and property safety, the measures we're known for in collaboration with our key regional partners. For example, this budget obviously includes the county contract for core fire and emergency services, but additionally sets aside funds to enhance county fire's fleet to strengthen fire suppression. And it includes a comprehensive array of life and safety risk mitigation projects, which you'll hear about in a second. Third, focus on regionalization is evident throughout this budget and extends further in projects such as the I-280 fuel break. Fourth, this year's budget is distinctive in asking for resources needed not only to plan projects and programs, but to optimize their execution. As such, that bubble of resources necessary to deliver services is a central theme of this plan, with a focus on staffing, retention and recruitment, capital, infrastructure, training, and contract support. As we've learned, it's not enough to just wish for a project to happen. The devil's in the details. And these programs are innovative and complex, both logistically and legally. And it takes people and assets to actually get them done. And we want to continue increasing the rate and size of these projects, and takes budget to do that. Fifth, and you've heard me say this multiple times at our meetings, focus on making this organization more sustainable. This is a plank of the strategic plan. And while it's related to the resources we just mentioned, this is about making sure that the expertise we've built continues as an organizational asset that outlives any one of us being involved here. We seek to promote stability, readiness, and sustainability as a district for years to come. Next slide. At this point, I'm going to pass the baton to Russ Morial. I always mispronounce his name. I'm so sorry, Russ. Our budget manager, to take you through the fiscal team and the overview of how things came together.
No, thank you, President Spreen, and it's a pleasure to present tonight to the Commission. The budget process for an organization this size really involves all staff, and it did this particular year, as I'm sure it did in the past years. But to effectively delegate, we assembled a team tasked with creating this particular fiscal plan. Team members included General Manager Logan as a policy lead, Eugenia Rendler for her project and program expertise, and Corey Vargas and myself on the finance side of the equation. From the onset of the project, the team understood the importance of developing a plan that prioritizes the district mission and the delivery of value community life and safety projects. It was a pleasure to hear Commissioner Warren speak of the strategic plan this evening. It really does fit like a glove. The process started and ended with the community in mind and aligns the budget numbers with the district's chart of services. The budget was developed after collaboration with our regional partners, including Fire Safe Council, County Fire, Caltrans, adjoining agencies such as MidPenn, Palo Altos, Stanford University, and the Los Altos Hills Town. Next, the fiscal components of the budget were compiled by reviewing the revenues and all categories of the expenditures, including the fire contract services, life and safety projects and programs, professional services, staffing, operations, and capital. The community public meetings phase began with the standing committee meeting on November 3rd and continues tonight, where we present the budget and open it for discussion, comment, and direction at the commission level. It will return to the commission in January of 2023. The adoption timeline for the budget extends from October to June of 2023, with the district commission approval of the draft extending to January of 2023, followed by the county workshops and adoption through June of 2003. It finally ends with the district's acceptance and adoption of the final budget in June of 2003. Next slide, please. Tonight, the fiscal team's members will tag team, as President Spreen indicated, in walking the audience through and discussing each category of the draft budget. But I want to first take a high-level macro view of the fiscal plan. And I like to call this slide before you a draft budget at a glance. It displays essentially how the math works and takes us from the total beginning district fund balance through estimated revenues and expenditures to the ending district fund balance as projected through June 30th, 2024. The pie chart on the right tells us that the district expenditures in the draft are really keenly aligned with its mission. If you were to combine the tan shaded pieces of the pie, and that is those pieces marked fire contract services, programs and projects, and capital, we see that nearly 80%, or actually to be very precise, 77% of all expenditures focus on direct critical community life and safety endeavors. As such, this budget continues the district's emphasis on life and safety. The remaining 20% accounts for all operations essential to supporting the core work of the organization. The table on the left summarizes the entire budget in numeric format. It underscores, first of all, I believe, the fiscal strength that has resulted from the prudent management of resources over the past several years. Something especially important in the face of a historic pandemic and statewide fire incidences. Clearly, 23-24 is projected to both begin and end with a healthy fund balance of approximately, and this budget proposes the use of available fund balance of approximately $4.9 million. As such, I would characterize this as an action-oriented and an outcome-focused budget. It is a budget, as President Spreen indicated, that will enable the district to build the resources necessary to deliver the projects, programs, safety infrastructure, capital, and facility needs. It also provides the dollars to support the district's long-term sustainability and strategic goals. So with that, I will hand it over to General Manager Logan to take on this part of the presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. As we know, the budget is essentially a planning document, and it supports the vision and aspirations of the agency. The budget projects forward many months, in our case, 18 months ahead, to the fiscal year starting in July 1st of 23 and ending in July 30th of 24. The budget also projects how we will end the current year we are through as of June 30th of 23. And then this slide, if you take a look at it, it depicts the lessons learned of continuous improvement, all of which have greatly influenced how the budget before you has been drafted and how it's come together. And it really, I think, captures the discussions we've had at a very high level that are strategic, but are also looking at the core of what have we learned and how do we use what we've learned for continuous improvement to improve the budget process. So first of all, the first bubble is we know we have to budget for the unknown events and unknown demands. And we look at the timeline, that's pretty clear, that's an important function of how we have to budget. Secondly, we know that we're doing business is becoming a more complex because of the projects and programs we take on and because of our high standards. Thirdly, we leverage our fiscal strength for resources to get the job done. And then we have operational best practices that are required. We need technological advances. So a large part of the budget goes to those technology advances. And finally, as we've talked about in the strategic plan, we need a solid business plan for infrastructure that is required and the sustainability for the district. So those are the lessons learned as we look at the budget and we really work for continuous improvement. And with that, Corey, could you talk with us about our revenues? Because that's where it all starts for us.
Yes, the district's revenue sources are straightforward in that they're primarily made up of property taxes and interest income on funds held and invested at the county pool. Staff has projected property tax using a time-tested growth pattern of between 2 to 4%. So we conservatively applied a 3% growth compared to the prior year budget, and it's a 2% growth compared to the prior year actual amount. We do expect to receive a refresh of property tax numbers from the county in late December, possibly even early January, and we will adjust these numbers accordingly before the next presentation at the January commission meeting. But we do expect very little in the way of changes. So given the rise in rates, we expect interest income to increase in fiscal year 24 over fiscal year 23, about 8%. But it comes in under the current year estimates, given the anticipated use of fund balances that are proposed in the budget. And now I'll hand it back over to Jay.
Okay, thank you, Corey. The next slide talks about fire contract services. The district agreement with County Fire provides life and safety services for the community that include the fire suppression and emergency medical services on a 24/7 basis. Procurement of these services compels us to remain diligent and prepared. Hence, you will see below capital outlay for procurement of 2 fire vehicles to strengthen the fleet of fire apparatus for increased community safety. In the 23-24 budget, the district will again invest in fire seasonal staffing of the Palo Alto Fire Station number 8 in coordination with the county and the city of Palo Alto. These stations provide fire crew staffing through the high fire season to protect the corridor. And we heard the chief talk about that corridor that abuts the district that are in an area furthest away from El Monte Fire Station proximity and some of the most dangerous area of the district. With services typically commencing in June and continuing through October, the budget includes $500,000 for this service level. Then similarly, the budget again includes funding for fuel management crew allocations in the amount of $300,000, consistent with the current budget implementation of fuel management that will be a focus of the IHFR, the Integrated Hazardous Fuel Reduction Program. The district is coordinating efforts with County Fire Chief and is including on an anticipatory basis funding of 2 fire vehicles. $2.125 million is included for a fire engine, more suitable for the current fleet and configuration of the current fire vehicles that operates on narrow and winding roads for increased maneuverability. And we've heard from the town in various conversations how important that maneuverability is for the town, and also how important it is to have a fire engine that is suitable for the current fleet and configured in the current fleet's manner. Allocation for equipment enhancement is being determined for these vehicles, and $550,000 is for the funding of a second water tender, and we know how important that is. Including these in the budget is proactive to introduce the plan for procurement and to get ahead of the long supply chain line that such procurements face. Discussions with County Fire are continuing for specifics of the allocations and timing of the procurements. So I'm in conversations with Chief Kirkow and her staff as to honing in on these costs of the fire engine and the water tender. They have changed and increased pretty much quarterly, so we do want to get some plan together to do that. And with that, Russ, let me hand it back over to you and you can explain the numbers from this concept into what the budget says. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. General Manager Logan's comments have essentially explained the primary components making up the change in the fire contract services budget line item for fiscal year 23-24. A breakdown of the number reveals that 2.6 million, or nearly 90% of the budget increase in this category, relates specifically to the proposed capital funding of one fire engine and a second water tender. The remaining increases in this category include the county and battalion chief contract projections, which fall within normal expected trends and COLA adjustment factors. At the end of the day, this category of expenditures accounts for nearly 60% of all district expenditures, in line again with the district mission. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Eugenia for what I think is one of the most exciting parts of this budget, and that is the projects and programs. It's all yours, Eugenia.
Thank you. Yes, I get pictures in my part. You guys get numbers. The projects and programs increased by $436,000 and make up 18% of the total fiscal year 23-24 expenditures. Some of the key projects which provide great local value include the following and are displayed in visual format on related slides. The first one is the expansion of our defensible space chipping and debris removal program, budgeted at $675,000. This program continues to grow each year, both in the number of participants and in the volume removed of the hazardous fuels at the parcel level. So we can see here on the left, it's just a sample of the kinds of things that we remove and the things that people the residents continue to participate in. And the next area is our evacuation route vegetation management. And we have a sample of that on the right-hand two slides. You can see the types of things that we remove. This is a eucalyptus example along the evacuation routes. And this is projected at $495,000 this year. This continues our connectivity of our main tributaries and alternative routes. And it also continues the tradition of resident education and participation has continued to rise as we invite the neighboring parcels and properties along the evacuation route to participate. Also, we have increased participation from our regional partners. Next slide. We can go to the next slide.
Oh, yeah, on the next.
Thank you. District emergency access routes for road hardening and vegetation mitigation is budget is projected at $445,000. These represent the smaller roads that tie into the evacuation network in our jurisdiction and in the county. So, and the other thing that we will be talking about in a little while is the hazardous ignition zone rebate program that you've heard of in the past at $300,000 for this year. And this rebate will further assist residents with removing the vegetation on the individual parcel levels. Pardon me. And sorry. I got lost for a sec. This continues the parcel level and property hygiene encouragement for the HIZs and the rebates for the residents. The full funding of emergency access roads and previously mentioned fire protection hand crews under the fire contract protection services allows the district maximum flexibility in adjusting to the fluctuating fire seasonal work as needs arise. One more slide. Thank you. Our goat grazing program has had a rise in herder wages, and of course, we all know the fuel rate increases that have been at the pumps. So we're now projected at $50,000 for our goat grazing. Our center picture and our left-hand picture here show our goats, and the red circle represents the amount of FAST fuels that was reduced. So we want to continue that program. Our emergency certain ARC supplies for the ARC and the emergency safety retrofitting and additional PPE for the increasing staff members is marked at $75,000 for this year. Those retrofitting changes include replacing the 10-year-old generators and updating the emergency supplies in the ARC and the insert supplies, as well as increasing supplies and inventories to meet the new staffing levels. Finally, we have an adjustment in the I-280 fuel break project, given the impact of the length of the federal grant cycle for $200,000. The district open space fuel break and evacuation of routes and vegetation management projects include the $150,000 for the DUDEC CEQA approved compliance assessments. The district continues to celebrate the introduction of these vital life and safety projects and does so in close coordination with county fire and regional partners. This fiscal year 2023-2024 budget has taken a big step forward to request those resources necessary to optimize the execution and delivery of these planned projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugenia. Programs and projects account for nearly 20% of the budget. It's important to note that these programs influence the ability of residents to purchase, maintain, and even lower insurance premiums. By citing these premiums, residents are able to inform their insurance agents of the progressive measures taken by the district to reduce their risk of wildfire catastrophes. Insurance carriers are required to recognize wildfire risk reduction measures taken by residents and the surrounding neighborhood communities. This initiative is strongly supported by the State Department of Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara and many state legislators. The district is proud to provide progressive integrated hazardous fuel reduction programs to residents in the community education and outreach residents efforts so that residents are properly informed and have access to district programs. The fiscal year 23-24 budget is replete with funds to support these efforts and proposes the staffing additionally to implement these valued community programs, which are founded on fire science and skillfully implemented to subject matter experts and by subject matter experts and consultants. On its own, the project and program budget is consistent with the prior year, but it does come in $436,000 higher at a total of $3.6 million. When compared to the prior year and current year estimates, the fiscal year 23-24 budget comes in significantly higher, or $2.1 million above the actual realized expenditures. This budget to actual variance has everything to do with the operational conditions that this proposed budget is designed to address, namely, making up for project and supply chain delays many organizations have faced state and nationwide during the pandemic. Also, making sure that the district is staffed at the appropriate level necessary to optimize the delivery of the planned projects and programs. Lastly, anticipating the multi-year timing of grant cycles as we look into the remainder of the current year and through 23-24. In summary, this budget confidently puts forth an action and delivery-oriented plan that navigates both the pandemic recovery and proposes the staffing, capital, and support dollars needed to do so. And with that, I will hand it back to General Manager Logan.
Thank you very much, Budget Manager Mariali. As Russ just talked about in the programs and projects that he described, now you're seeing before you a chart of services that's frequently used by the district in portraying its service delivery structure. And this chart of services displays the wide scope of community-based initiatives that are aimed at preserving life and optimizing the safety of property. The district, in the district community and that of its neighbors. And you'll see all the key programs up there in that chart of services. It's also important to note the boxes at the bottom of the chart of services. And this is the broad band of services activities that has to be developed, planned, and managed, coordinated, and evaluated by the current staffing of 5.5 FTE who do the coordination with the county, town, and key surrounding regional partners. Next slide, please. This chart displays both the current staffing and the staffing as proposed in the FY23 budget. The chart reflects the proposed staffing count of 10 FTE for fiscal year 23-24 and the current adopted budget FTEs appearing in normal text. The proposed new FTE positions appear in bold text, a total of 4.5 additional FTEs to support and implement the district plan programs and projects. In the near term, these positions will optimize service delivery and strengthen staffing and accomplish fire and safety projects and programs. In the long term, these positions add the depth to the bench of talent, ensure operational continuity, synergize staff knowledge, and enhance service levels and sustain a productive path. You'll notice in the chart at the very bottom, there's the timeline where you can see how this chart stretches out. These bubbles stretch out from currently November of 22 to July of 23, and then June of 24. So we have to figure out and budget positions in that time span to do all the projects and programs that we're planning. So it really is a pretty complex task to do that. And then you'll see the signposts around the bubbles that talk about what these staff positions support and deliver to the community. And basically, the additional FTE are a full-time field manager, a full-time general analyst, a full-time technical analyst, a part-time grant specialist, and then we currently have in the district the part-time events coordinator and FireWise community coach, the part-time budget manager. Those two positions are recommended to move into regular status in 23-24. And if you go to the next chart, now you'll see the comparative head count, and you'll see FY 22-23, which is adopted currently in the budget, moved forward then to 23-24 as proposed. And you'll see how each of those positions fall from this current year to the next year. And then if you get to the technical analyst, which is a 0.5, that in 23-24 is proposed to be a half-time project manager. And then back the part-time seasonal in right now headcount in 22-23 is the budget manager. And that would be positioned to be a part-time finance manager. The events coordinator and FireWise coach part-time would be the events coordinator and FireWise coach in the regular position part-time. And then added to that would be a field manager, general analyst, technical analyst, and a grant specialist, which is part-time. So that's the way we've tried to take you through kind of the bubbles that show the positions right now and to come, and then also the actual head count as it's going to occur. And with that, let's move on for staffing back to President Spreen, if you would please.
Sure. This detailed table displays directly the FTE changes just discussed in the previous slide, so you can see the actual numbers there. The reason I'm talking about this slide is I want to talk about one particular row, which is highlighted in blue at the bottom. This is something we've sort of talked about as a commission, but this is the first time we're really sort of moving into it. And this is about staffing and looking at how we deal with benefits. You know, every project we do, and it's an ever-growing list of things, all of this we found takes people with specific skills. And while we're able to do these, the reason we're able to do these projects we planned only because we've acquired a staff that rightfully has a reputation for its expertise and experience in innovative action. And you should hear what other agencies talk about our staff. It really is remarkable. This is what we want to preserve. And we like to think of ourselves as being so lucky to have the staff we do, but that's the wrong way to think about it. It can't be luck. It has to be sustainable. We want to know that if we need to replace any of our remarkable staff, that we're competitive for candidates that are just as remarkable. Right now, a significant aspect of our hiring ability is the fact that we offer zero benefits. So no health insurance, no retirement. And we've been fortunate to attract staff members who have gotten those benefits through other means, typically by being retired or having partners with health benefits. It limits the candidates we can realistically recruit. And it makes every positional hire a unique and constrained effort because we have to lead with the fact that we have no benefits. So let's see how we can make this work. This blue highlighted item goes directly to the theme of sustainability of us as an organization. It's to provide for an evaluation and assessment of employee benefits and how to apply them uniquely to our district. And it's not a very detailed item at this time. It will be a project in itself during the coming year to define a benefits program that would fit us. I expect some sort of platter style that would best be suited to the district's unique work environment, given that we're virtual, we have a number of retirees, but we want to be able to hire other kinds as well and expand our hiring pool. The amount shown here was developed using an industry standard benefit rate in the 30 to 40% range, and it's really meant to be enough to fund that analysis. Obviously, this will all have to be developed at the commission level, so there will be plenty of further discussion about how this becomes real during the year. But this is our first commitment to actually making something happen so that we can really hire as a real organization. Next slide, please. I think I'm going to pass this back.
Back to me. Okay. So the increase in salaries, benefits, and taxes budget is mostly due to the proposed FTE additions that were presented in the prior slides. Beyond bolstering the strength of the district with a proposed complement of 10 FTE, this budget also increases the related cost items, specifically the Social Security, unemployment, Medicare taxes, and the associated overtime. This budget also increased funding for the seasonal temporary employees to provide for short-term staffing on projects that require assistance in a year replete with significant initiatives and any unknown situations. So on the next slide, there has been much talk about enhancing the sustainability of the district and its focus on project deliverables in the fiscal year 24 budget. In line with that theme, outside professional services and independent contractor / consultant line item budgets have been increased by approximately $530,000, or the bulk of the dollar change in this area. And the key changes include a facility assessment to evaluate building and infrastructure improvements at the El Monte Fire Station, which we estimate about $150,000. Increased IT contract support by about $50,000, given several key technology initiatives aimed at information transparency and sustainability. Increased IT initiatives by $50,000 to develop a web-based documentation portal and finance transparency web presence. Increased long-term strategic planning and HR analysis to evaluate the benefits packages. That should cost approximately $95,000. Increase in county imaging cost sharing contract. That's with the LIDAR data. County has informed us that contract is increasing by $22,000 from $9,000 to $31,000. Increase in independent contractors consultants by $180,000, given the focus on programs, projects, and facility enhancements. And the district continues to fund a variety of technology projects, including core operational IT support, but has enhanced this capability in the fiscal year 24 budget to allow for the development of a public portal-based document retrieval system, transparent finance web reporting model, and GIS mapping videography. And then our operations, they've remained relatively stable compared to last year's budget. There are two noticeable increases though. The maintenance structure and grounds has increased by $50,000, and this is to accommodate potential parcel enhancements resulting from a parcel use study, also funded on this line item. And then the workshops and seminars increased by $53,000 to $65K to allow for expanded staffing training, professional development for both existing and added staff resources as proposed in this budget. This anticipates the strategic need for staff development and subject matter expertise, continuing education, and certification. So these two items make up the bulk of the $101,000 increase in this expenditure category. And I would also like to note that the property tax admin fee and the IC cost allocation plan estimate, these are just estimates at this point. County will provide us with the actual numbers to be updated probably in December, again, late December, early January. And I'll pass this back on to Eugenia to talk about capital equipment.
Okay, thank you, Corey. The budget proposes the purchase of 2 new district vehicles to better its fire and safety and community outreach capabilities. This is a new category line item in the budget and is being proposed given the anticipated return to in-person activities as society adapts to the current public health atmosphere. The 2 big vehicles of note include one LAHCFD branded truck to be utilized in roadside projects, towing emergency trailers, deploying equipment, assisting in response and traffic control at a cost of $125,000 fully equipped. The second vehicle is an LAHCFD branded community van for events, including CERT, staff and supply transportation, and increased branding presence for life and safety education services and outreach at a cost of $100,000. And it could be noted, this could also support roadside projects as a scope calls for a second vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugenia. So we've tossed out a lot of numbers tonight in all the various presentations. So I just want to take a moment to try to pull it all together in answering the core question, how has this budget changed when you compare it to the prior year budget that was adopted for 22? I hope this chart answers the question, accounts for the increases in expenditures of about 5.8 million over the 22-23 budget. When doing so, if you look at both sections, the dark brown and the light tan section, you'll see that 70% of all budget changes, or 4.057 million, are dedicated directly to life and safety measures, regionalization, and investments in capital and infrastructure. The remaining 30%, or 1.79 million, are those resources that are needed to deliver on the projects, and namely people and staffing, outreach, technology, and sustainability measures, and overall support costs. And that essentially makes up the major theme of this budget, which is to provide the resources needed to get the job done. I can read through the lists, but I think it speaks for itself. All the various previous slides have spoken to the individual changes, but this chart in particular summarizes the changes in total. As one considers the 70-30% relationship that I mentioned, it's key to note that the bulk of the additional FTE positions that are being requested are directly related to the delivery and execution of life and safety programs. If we were to add those additional FTE costs into the brown colored section, we would arrive at 87% of the budget expenditures supporting the core mission of the district. And with that, I'll hand it back to Corey.
Yeah, and so this is just a quick outline of the budget calendar, describing where we are in the budget process and what the next steps are. After tonight's meeting, there could potentially be a second standing subcommittee meeting if needed. And then at the January 17th, 2023 meeting, you will get the budget will return to you with changes made, including the numbers that we received from county, and then any numbers, if there's discussion tonight, requested to look into changes. Then we have submission to the County Office of Budget Analysis on February 3rd. We'll have a final draft budget coming to the commission on February 21st. And then the Office of Budget Analysis will allow us to resubmit their draft on the 22nd. If there are any significant changes, but there really shouldn't be. We have the Board of Supervisors budget workshops, May 15th through the 17th of 2023. Then the Board of Supervisors budget hearings are scheduled for June 12th, 13th, and 15th of 2023. And then finally, the commission adopts the fiscal year 24 final Los Altos Hills County Fire District budget as adopted by the Board of Supervisors on June 30th. And I think that is the end of our report. So we're pleased to accept comments, suggestions, recommendations, and revisions.
Okay, that's a lot of information for everybody. And so if you're not too stunned by all the information at once, we'd love to have comments and just discussion so that we can put that into further refinements. Looking for commissioners' thoughts. I see Melvin. Looks like you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There we go. I saw a small amount, I believe it was $150,000 or $250,000 allocated to hydrant replacement of that. Do we have anything in the budget, and it may have been an oversight on my part, regarding augmentation of the inadequate water supply system up on some of the areas located within the jurisdiction?
Jay or Russ, do you have any comments on that, or?
I can comment on it in that the areas in question would probably be under Cal Water Systems, Cal Water Services. And so we're working with Cal Water Services to encourage them to use their revenues and their planning to plan those enhancements. But we don't have any money set aside to fund those programs for Cal Water Services. So it's just maintaining the hydrants that we have right now that belong to the district. Is that getting at what you're talking about?
Yeah, I just think we're increasing the budget quite a bit. And I think that, we've looked at some of the costs to improve some of those systems. And I think that, it might be possible to allocate some of these funds to fixing these inadequate water supply systems, which I think is a huge deal within our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I know we've been very, if I can speak for Jay, I know we've been very limited in terms of how we're allowed to assigning our expenditures to companies, specifically Cal Water. And that's seen as not as much as you think the water system would be, is a relative benefit for all our taxpayers. We're not allowed to sort of assign our revenues into it. So we've been, it's not something we've been allowed to do. I think coming out of the audit, that
Right.
was one of the directions that was made
Correct.
to us.
Yeah,
Roger, you're right. I mean, those direction we received from the audit is that there was definitely guardrails around it. Then that was not permissible behavior.
Yeah, I believe our attorneys were looking at different ways to structure it. And I think I'd like to see that revisited in a way that, it can be some sort of a partnership. I know that there was some ways around that, but I think that, we'd be a little remiss in not addressing that problem, especially because I personally believe it's one of the biggest target hazards within our jurisdiction. So I'd definitely like to see our attorneys revisit that. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
George, then Mark.
Yeah, thank you. And I sympathize with Melvin. And frankly, I was on a committee with Mark. Gosh, how long ago was that? We were looking at our water infrastructure and how we could expand the pipes and get the water flow. Boy, yeah, I'm disappointed that that's hard or impossible for us to do the way we thought. And so we just have to look for other things we can do to apply our resources and improve fire safety. And gosh, am I the second oldest on this committee, Melvin? I think you started about a year before me. I'm about 7.5 years. And I look at this budget and I say, wow, what a huge difference from where we were. And it is surprising. It's a lot of money we're spending. On the other hand, you know, we've got taxpayer money coming in, and we need to make use of it, because we know we're feeling exposed. It started before the CZU fire in 2020, but it continues. Every summer we get through, I feel like we just had a reprieve, but we need to get ourselves ready for more. So I'm pleased to see the investments. And the thing is, you can't just fling money at programs and things. You have to develop the infrastructure of the people to do that. So it is a lot, but it's something we're capable of. And what I'm hoping is that as we have this sustained expertise, we serve as a center of really excellence out in this direction that serves as a point of safety for our neighbors, both to the north and south and even to the east of us. And so my general comment is, let's go ahead with it. It is surprising. It's a big change, but I also see what's happening with the organization and the pace of change. And also it's not a simple thing to just initiate a program. It requires so much management to do it properly and have those kind of proper controls. So that's a long-winded just way of voicing a general support.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate what George just said, that tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of planning. Love to see the alignment between the budget and the strategic plan, and the scope of all of the projects that we are looking to do, especially supporting regionalization, enhancing resiliency and protection of life and property in the district and the greater region. Enthused to see that, and happy to see some money set aside in the budget looking at the future improvements to the El Monte Fire Station. It's coming up on 20 years old, and it's probably time for a midlife upgrade. And I think that's only appropriate. And that really, I'm a big supporter of that, because of the fact that we want to have for our firefighters a professional and world-class facility for them, because they spend a large chunk of their lives there. So I think that's really important for the district and our critical partner, which is Central Fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Joan?
Yeah, it's a small item, but I think I saw in there that we reduced the ask from 75K to 20K for communications and outreach. And I didn't know what that real number was that we were expecting for next year, but I just wanted to check into that, because I think it'd be terrific to have additional funds for that. So just wanted to see what the real number was there that we're proposing.
Let's see.
Take this one offline if it's too complicated. I just spotted this one. I didn't notice it before, so didn't know.
Let's see. Let's see if we can get an answer for you here.
Thanks. I think it's an important area, and I didn't know why that number might have shifted.
Jay or Russ, do you know if let's see.
Yes, we're looking at that right now. Is that under project and program?
Right.
Communications and outreach, or
communications and outreach. So for 24, is it at the 75K?
75, yeah.
It is the 75. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
that's great.
So it is maintain the same budget as last year.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, that has been made.
Great. Okay. Any other commissioner comments?
I think we're moving in the right direction. If we are going to really deal with fire in the coming years, we really have to put in the infrastructure needed to deal with it. But I was wondering if we should also focus on communicating with our residents, because they will start to notice that the budget is creeping up, but we need to make the time to explain to them, if we are really to deal with the coming threat in the years to come, we really need to put this infrastructure in place and get ahead of the tide. And we need an organization in scale and structure. And we're headed in the right direction, but I think it'll be good. It behooves us to make that argument and make our case to the people. I think it's important.
I agree. Good comment.
Good comment.
Great.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments before we open it to the public?
Yeah, just quickly to
Yes,
Kavita's
Joe.
there. I think, I think getting the information out to the public is always a challenge to get them to pay attention to it. And so that's why I want to make sure we had some of the funds that we'll need to try some new methods to get them to really not only pay attention to the impact that we've already had, but to what we plan on doing moving forward. And so totally agree, Kavita.
Great.
And I wanted to mention in that regard that the budget does include in the technology sector transparency portals, and one was for document retrieval, of course, which is important, but the other was a financial transparency portal. And our vision is to put up on the website the ability for the public to look at our finances on a monthly basis in a very easy and a way that communicates the connection between the dollars and the missions accomplished. So if approved, we hope to develop that and launch that in 23-24 as well.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more, let's go for public comments. I see we have one hand raised. Mr. Kumar.
Thank you very much to Chairperson. I wanted to thank the respective members as well as the county staff and the respective clerk for the commission. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge the facts about the report. It's a 5-year financial report that's been articulated, and I think it is important to acknowledge that how typically when any accounting and audit reports are being prepared and the financial reports are being prepared, they typically be reevaluated at the end of the year, being to remain in a compliance, as well as making sure about that what is the amount of money that has been spent versus the amount of money that has been saved over the course. So what I wanted to specifically emphasize on the fact is that how much amount of percentage of increase that has been articulated versus having that cost to be formalized as a tangible and intangible cost. In any financial report, it is important to anticipate that what is that is supposed to be the requirement as well as the policy that is outlined and the criteria for the spending. Any budget that has been spent out on a yearly basis with the financial report has to be in a compliance with what is the expected, what is the budget that has been outlined versus what is the amount that is to be expensed. If there are costs that are tangible enough to be spent, there are always an incentive program to cover those costs through the investment. As it is outlined in one of the report that there is $125,000 that is to be spent on a second fire engine to be purchased, as the cost of the fire engine is obviously going to be, which is a more tangible versus the legal and the professional services expense, which is intangible and can be varied. However, in terms of expense on completely on a legalized services versus having to purchase something which is required to be manufactured or required to be completely outright purchased, that always differs. So I request the commissions to consider that how it is being prepared and also evaluate the conditions in the report where the policy comes in and being helpful to the commission to evaluate the cost that how it is being increased versus how it is being spent, as it's always going to be the case that at the end of the fiscal year there are always going to be a compliance and auditing that's to be placed. So thank you very much for the consideration of comments.
Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Appreciate the oversight. Alan, your turn.
Thank you. As Commissioner Spreen knows, I attended the budget meeting and made a number of comments at the budget workshop meeting. None of the comments that I made are reflected in the budget that's being presented today to the commissioners. It's an awful lot to comment on in just 3 minutes, but I'll try my best. As far as revenue is concerned, I think the revenue assumptions are fine with the exception of the interest rate assumption. I think the interest earnings will be 2 to 3 times what is currently shown on the chart. There's $2.6 million in equipment purchases. There hasn't been a real explanation as to why that equipment is necessary and how that equipment is going to benefit the district particularly. One is for a second tender. We haven't even received the first tender, and the tender is intended to provide water, and the district has hydrants throughout pretty much throughout its entire district, and the tender is a very limited use piece of equipment. $2.1 million for a fire quote engine. I haven't seen engines at that price. Quints and trucks are typically in that type of range, and with very limited possibilities for their use within our district. I think the bigger question, however, relates to the increase in staffing relative to the projects. And if you look at the budget and look at the portion that the staff is responsible for, as opposed to the total budget, and compare that to the project number, I think the ratio of the increase is just disproportionate. And if you look at the budget that was projected last year and what the estimated actual is, the budget was $3 million for projects. The estimated actual is less than half that number at this point in time. And I think that's indicative of the project performance related issues. Number of the items don't have assumptions that go with them, so it's difficult to tell whether they're justified or not. Many of them don't have specificity with regards to how many and what is going to be done. I'd be very interested in hearing about the rebate program and how many dollars are attributed to that program. Also interested in hearing what's going to happen in the regional space area. There was supposed to be a cooperation on that. I don't see any budget provided for the regional open space area. In the commitment area, I think more money should be put towards facilities. I think the wildfire technology should be removed from the commitment. It's been on that list for 4 years. The district has plenty of money. If it intended to do that, it could have done it by this point in time. I see I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments and appreciate your attention to all the budget items. There's again, would be more discussion of this in January. And let's see, any more public comments? Seeing none, I appreciate everyone's attention through. I know it was a long presentation there. Now, item 8B is actually a separate item, which is to receive the preliminary draft budget, which is obviously what we've just been giving a presentation on. So it's not something separate, but I'll ask Aaron, do I need to have a separate set of comments for that, or is this?
No, I believe you can proceed to the action item.
Great. Let's see. Again, as a reminder, this draft budget will return at January 17th next year, regular commission meeting for consideration, direction, and discussion. And in that case, we will. There's no action needed to take here. You will see this again at our next meeting in January, assuming it's our next meeting. We will now move on to item 9, which is approving the Second Amendment to the Professional Service Agreement with the Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council for Program Services. General Manager Logan and Budget Manager Morreale, please present this report.
Thank you, President Spreen. The memorandum report is it's in the packet, is a high-level summary of the Second Amendment to the Fire Safe Council Agreement that includes Exhibit D, which is the 2023 budget and the scope of services for an HIZ plus rebate program. The details of the rebate program will be presented to the commission at a future meeting. The target is the January 17th commission meeting. And then Budget Manager Morreale, could you review the memo report with the commission?
Yes, thank you, General Manager Logan. I'm pleased to summarize the memorandum report regarding the Fire Safe Council Agreement. The agreement with Fire Safe Council has evolved over time, actually since 2019. But this important partnership essentially provides the district community with several vital fire integrated hazardous fuel reduction safety prevention measures, including defensible space shipping and debris removal, the home ignition zone program, evacuation route and vegetation management, open space and fuel break program, planning, project management, and programs oversight and community education. These services align perfectly with the Fire Safe Council's stated mission, as is indicated on their website, and that is to mobilize community members of Santa Clara County to protect their homes, communities, and environment from wildfires, a mission that directly aligns with that of the district. The memorandum displays a chart which compares the 2023 budget, and we're talking about calendar year now, to the 2022 budget. It includes two notable changes. First, a $360,000 amount to specifically fund the new district rebate program. And second, the enhancement of a defensible space shipping debris removal program, which was increased by $160,000. Staff recommends that the commission approve this amendment to adjust the compensation, which also includes the updated personnel rates and the scope of services as listed on Exhibit D. All other terms and conditions of the contract remain the same and have been approved as to form and legality by County Council. This concludes my report and summary of the memorandum report.
Great. Thank you both. Any clarifying questions from the commission on what this is about and what this is for to extend? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion and a second.
Commissioner Tonka, so moved.
Thank you.
Sherlock seconds.
Perfect. Now the item is now open for discussion. Any discussion on that from the commission? I expect none. Are there any public comments on this item? I see a hand up. Yes, Alan, you may proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to make just a couple comments here. First, I want to point out that this is on a calendar year and you're budgeting on a fiscal year. It'd be nice if the consultant or the contractor's contract was co-aligned with the district's fiscal year. It would be more practical from a budgeting and analysis standpoint. Second point I'd like to make out is that if you look at the project expense that's budgeted for FY24 and subtract out the contingency, it's about $3 million. And if you look at the budget for Fire Safe Council, it's $1.4 million. So 45% of the projects that the district quote is responsible for are actually being performed by the Fire Safe Council. And you should take that into consideration when you think about the staffing that the district needs in order to accomplish these projects, because the Fire Safe Council has a staff of 10 people or that the district is paying $1.3 million for to complete these projects. Those are my two comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we will now vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct a roll call.
President Green,
Yes.
Vice President Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 10, Operations, Emergency Services, CERT, Firewise USA, Community Education and Risk Reduction, and Integrated Hazardous Fuel Reduction Reports. Long title. Let's see. Who's going to provide this? Oh, Community Education and Risk Reduction Manager Gluen will provide this report for us.
Good evening, everyone. I know it's been a very long evening. You started early and it's going late, so I will be as quick as possible. Just wanted to just give you a real quick update. CERT has a drill coming up February 1st. That's in conjunction with the town. We also have the other drills that are here coming up You can see those dates, and those are in your packet to review. If you're currently a CERT member, anybody on this call, please reach out, see where you can get involved. If you'd like to become a CERT, please get involved that way. So thank you. Next slide. And again, this is the EOC drill that Victoria had back on the 25th. Again, it's working with the town in getting some of the working out some of the logistics problems, kind of getting that seamless operation where our volunteers fit in, and then where we as a district fit in the case of an emergency or an activation of the EOC. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I wanted to just comment a little bit on some of the social media that the district's been using. Really important when we talked about the branding and the reaching out. We are going back from this virtual of almost 3 years into hoping to do more public outreach. That's ultimately where we get the most, because Los Altos Hills and the type of large area that it is, the large parcels and homes, we've gotten the most in the past of having those public meetings, the most interaction, the most community outreach, the most information sharing. But in the pivot that is branding and COVID, we have done a lot on our Facebook, Instagram. We now have a Twitter feed. We've used some TikTok. We saw that last meeting, and LinkedIn. We've had a Twitter feed for a while. I'm sorry, LinkedIn is the newer aspect. So if you are on any of these platforms, please go in. It does help the algorithms for us to have likes and shares, views on depending on what the platform utilizes. So you can help out at this meeting by going in and checking those out and giving us your comments and your feedback. We have a really good staff pushing a lot of really good information, especially in the recent cold snaps, the heat snaps that we had earlier in the year, and then recently the rain and the cold snaps. We had some possible flooding issues, landslides, things like that. All that was pushed through social media. Next slide. So recently, these are some current events that have happened in the district. We had our trifold brochure, which has been just a fantastic summary of all the programs that we have. It's a very user-friendly when we do an in-person event. It has QR codes so people can readily jump on. Thank you to Commissioner Sherlock for all of her work with Victoria and all the rest of the communication team, Jackson and Andrea and Jay on all of, and Eugenia on all the components of getting the brochure and the communications team getting it all finalized. It was really a great effort on everybody's part, very succinct and very user-friendly. It's been very well received. I did the Altamont Escape Route tour with a few of the residents of Los Altos Hills. That came out of the activity guide. Earlier, we talked about a month and a half ago of a native plant talk that we've done. So it's really well received by the community to see some of the other aspects that the district can offer around our alignment with integration of our hazardous fuel reduction. But what does that look like? And this was actually walking alongside Burn Preserve, both sides of the road, and really talking about what an evacuation route hardening is and is not. You know, really the importance of where we want to leave the shading and why we're doing what we're doing, species diversification. I'm going to let Marjorie jump on and talk about the Firewise that she's been working on. Really great booklet again with the communications committee. Let Marjorie jump on for this next portion.
And I will be really quick. Basically, I've been working on a booklet to share out with the community. So after we'll have our first conversation or contact with the community, we'll give them this booklet. It's going to have all the steps and resources that they need in one easy place. And I'm also working on an internal process of how Firewise is going to work and how we need to handle all the different steps. And we'll be kicking it off in January.
Thank you, Marjorie. Next slide.
I think that was it for item 10.
Okay, perfect. So that wraps up what we have for tonight. Again, really quick speed. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions from commissioners? Let's see, is that let's see, make sure we have all this stuff. Do we want to put all these? Are there additional reports to follow on this that we should then ask questions for the public, or should we?
The Firewise will be coming up in January. So you'll get to see the version of that at the January meeting. That's when we're kicking off our Firewise recruitment process, we'll call it, for various communities inside the Zone Haven zones, inside Los Altos Hills. So you'll see more to come in January on that.
Okay, great. Oh, I see a comment from Joan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Denise for being willing to do all these in-person events and presentations. I think it really shows the community that we're very hands-on and they can get a personal experience that actually educates them as to what's going on. So thank you. It's an extra effort, I know.
Thanks, Commissioner Schrock. And I really look forward to meeting in person. That is the way that people really receive the message. Zoom is great, you know, it's convenient, but it's not the same as in person. People really do, you know, want to feel like they're heard and their questions are asked. And I think they feel a little more approachable in person. So thank you.
That's great.
Thank
Any
you.
public comments on that report? Seeing none, we will move on to 10B, which is the integrated hazardous fuel reduction report. And this will be from technical analyst, project manager Cronin, I believe.
Thank you, President Spreen and commissioners. From when we met last, we've had some significant progress. We met with Caltrans and Fire Safe Council, and we went over the traffic control plan, and that has been finalized. The right to entry with the properties along the Arrastradero evacuation route hardening project, those were returned by Halloween. We got 17 of them back. That left only really a handful that we needed to secure. We went out on the 4th and did in-person outreach to those residencies. Denise was mentioning that trifold brochure. We used that extensively. We made some really great contacts with people. They were excited to see us. For the most part, there's many of the properties we're simply just going to be able to do maintenance on, and we really don't need an encroachment with them. But those where we really felt we needed them, I believe we got what we needed. Contractors, Fire Safe Council took their contractors out there and reviewed the scope of work from the 7th through the 10th, and then they submitted their bids, and those bids are coming in now. We started doing extensive outreach Sunday, so we were getting our signs up out there. We've placed 6 signs along the route and alerting people that, hey, this project is coming. You'll see the graphic of the changeable message sign, that rolling electronic sign that has been placed at the park and ride lot. That was contracted with BATS to go out there and put that for us. It is on a Caltrans property, so there was a lot of minutia about putting that there, and it's all been done properly, and I'm excited to see it out there 2 weeks prior to the beginning. I was personally out there and made contact with a lot of citizens. They're very excited to hear about it. We also have done significant outreach to the bicycling community, the cycling community. That's a very popular route, and I think it was welcomed. The outreach was very much welcomed. I met with 2 different, actually 3 different stores that host rides along that route. They're excited to know about that we were doing the project. They liked what we're doing, and they're appreciative of the alert, the pre-alert about the road being limited access, we'll say. It's not really closed. I reached out to 4 different cycling groups: Silicon Valley Bicycling Coalition, San Jose Bike Club, Almaden Valley Touring Club, what was the other? Oh, Western Wheelers, more casual bike ride club. And they all were very happy about that. We'll be doing some more with some of the mapping programs that people use to route that area, but that has to be done kind of at the time of. So that brings us up to where we are right now. Upcoming, starting tomorrow, we're going to get our contract will be awarded. There's going to be a bio survey done just prior to the start, so they want to get a fresh look of what are the bio conditions out there for that. And we are on target to start on November 28th. End of report. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. And boy, that really illustrates how much work goes on behind the scenes to make something happen. This is all the stuff, let alone the work of actually doing the clearing. the number of things required to make that happen is really easy to lose track of. So thank you for illustrating that. Any other comments from commissioners? Any public comments? Oh, I see Denise has a comment.
Sorry, just not a public comment, but I just want to really bring to the commissioner's attention the extensiveness of this project, what Ryan's brought to the team, reaching out to the cyclists, getting these additional signage. This is what the staff additions make to the quality of the project. We're hitting all of the marks, not most of the marks. Bringing in the staff for all of the various levels. Eugenia helped us on CEQA and those compliance and planning, so I just really want to say that that's what the staff enhancements. Yeah, I did some of this stuff back, but it was enough to get the project up and going. Did it get done? Absolutely. Were all the dots dotted, all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed? You're seeing that now. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It really is. It's an impressive effort, and people should really acknowledge that. Thank you. Let's see. Seeing no public comment from that, we will move on to next item 10B2, which is the update on the HIZ and rebate program timeline. This is Eugenia. If you could please present this report.
Yes, thank you. This is our HIZ plus rebate program, the timeline that's coming up. The expanded HIZ program integrates with our existing defensible space brush chipping and the debris removal. The HIZs, as you may know, make recommendations. You get an individualized report that makes recommendations to the types of things that you should do to your property to increase your defensible space. You see those on the left there where the trees are overhanging the deck. That would be a recommendation to cut those back. On the right, you've got areas underneath the deck. This county loves its decks, whether they're elevated or whether they're right near the foundation, but it is an area where things need, maintained. So in order to continue our call to action efforts, we want to incentivize the residents to act on the recommendations they get in their HIZ assessments. And this rebate program is going to take that next step to continue to elevate the efforts on property hygiene and removal of fuels from our neighborhoods. The implementation plan will be put together with the Fire Safe Council. We'll get that set up in the remainder of this calendar year. And in quarter1 next year, we'll start marketing the program, explaining how it works, doing outreach especially through our Firewise communities and the other interested folks that have gathered together and used our existing programs. And finally, in quarter2, we'll begin the pilot of actually using the rebate program, getting the new HIZs and the assessments rolled out, making the rebate program work, and receiving the resident and staff feedback. And as you see in our lower right, the other thing that this program adds is a documentation process to show what's been done, because the new HIZ reports will have an electronic tracking feature the residents can use if they want. So they'll be able to demonstrate to their home insurance carriers that indeed, I did all this work. I'm part of a Firewise community, or I'm in the pipeline to become a Firewise community and get access to those renewals and rate reductions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments or discussion? Seeing none, any public questions or comments? Oh, I see Seth has a comment. Yes.
I just wanted to say good evening, commissioners, and from behalf of the Fire Safe Council, we thank you very much for the opportunity to partner with you, and we look forward to piloting and improving on the rebate program going forward. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, I guess we're finished with the report. So now we will move on to item 11, which is approving the Fourth Amendment to General Manager Employment Agreement. California, and I will look for Aaron to sort of correct me if I get this wrong, but I will read this. California Government Code Section 54953, subsection C3, requires the commission to orally report a summary of their proposed compensation before taking final action to adopt that compensation. hereby approving the employment agreement. Key components of the proposed compensation are described in detail in the proposed Fourth Amendment to the General Manager Employment Agreement included in the materials for this agenda item. The proposed amendment extends the term of the agreement to December 31st, 2023, updates the timing for the employee performance evaluation, and includes the following compensation. Number one, salary. The proposed amendment increases the annual salary by 5% from $213,333 to, and I just did this calculation, so I hope I get this right, $224,000. I think that's right. Beginning January 1st, 2023. That represents a 5% increase. Benefits. Under the proposed amendment, the position will receive certain benefits, including vacation accrual, effective January 1st, 2023. In addition to all previously accrued and unused vacation days, it will include 15 days of vacation leave to be provided per year, and an office stipend of $125 per month. As an exempt employee, the proposed amendment does not provide holiday pay, although the position shall not be expected to work on federal or California holidays unless required for district business needs. And fourth, the proposed employment amendment does not provide medical benefits or retirement benefits. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission? Seeing none. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion for item 11, the Fourth Amendment to the General Manager Employment Agreement with Joanne Logan. May I have a motion and a second, please?
Tyson moves approval.
Thank you.
Warren seconds.
Thank you. The item is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion from the commission? Seeing none. Is there any public comments on this item? Seeing none, giving time for it. Great. If there's no further discussion, we will now vote. District Clerk Vargas, please conduct the roll call.
President Spreen,
Yes.
Vice President Sherlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonka,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
And the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think Jay has a comment.
Yes, just want to thank the commission and President Spreen, Vice President Sherlock for your time and energy, and to also County Council Forbath for the time and energy to put this together. And I'm honored to serve, and thank you. Look forward to many more meetings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and let's see. We'll now move on to item 12, commission member reports. Let's see. Item 12A is really an informational one to remind everyone that 2 commissioner terms will expire on December 31st of this year. District Clerk Vargas, please provide a report on this.
Okay. And Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian from District 5 makes the appointment recommendations, which are then considered for approval by the County Board of Supervisors. The vacancies will be advertised, and interested residents of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District submit an electronic application to the Office of the Clerk of the Board of Supervisors using the website link that is provided on the agenda.
Thank you, District Clerk Vargas. Yeah, I believe, just for further clarification, that this is the seats of Commissioner Vaughn and Commissioner Tyson. I believe Commissioner Tyson has won an election that didn't have to happen to retain his seat as counsel. So presumably he will be retaining a seat, I hope. And Commissioner Vaughn, I think one other point is that until, and please correct me if I'm wrong, until the supervisors appoint someone else, everyone remains in their seat. So,
yes.
So in other words, just because the December 31st hits, Commissioner Vaughn, you can't leave us yet until the supervisors do their business. So if we can convince them to not take any action, we can tie him down here for as long as we can. Anyway, I just want to give everyone the information on how that works. Thank you. Let's see. A comment from George.
I just didn't want there to be any uncertainty. I was contacted by Joe Simidian's office several months ago, and I expressed an interest in being reappointed. And so I haven't filled out this form, but just wanted to let you know that that was my intention to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay. Any public comment on this item? I should ask. Don't expect any, but just want to give everyone a chance. Seeing none. Let's see, move item 12B, future agenda items. This is an opportunity for commissioners to provide reports or any future agenda topics. Are there any comments for the commission on that? Not seeing any. Any public comment on this item? Not seeing any. We will now move on to item 12C. 12C is notice that the next regular commission meeting is scheduled for December 20th, 2022. I'd like to get the consensus of the commission to propose authorizing myself as district president in consultation with the general manager to cancel the December meeting unless it's needed due to unanticipated business necessity. In other words, if you will agree to that, then that allows General Manager Logan and I to call it if needed, but to try and work towards keeping everyone's December schedules free. I see one thumbs up. Any comments from, I see thumbs up. No one demanding we meet in December at this point. So I will take that as a consensus. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Okay, and the consensus is enough on that. Let's see, any public comment on that item, just to make sure. I won't go too fast on that. Great, we can now move on to item 13, which is a well-deserved item for everyone, which is adjournment. Thank you all for your patience and complexities of this evening. A lot was done, a lot of information. As discussed, the commission and public will be notified if the December 20th regular meeting will be canceled. If it is canceled, the next regular meeting will take place via Zoom on January 17th, 2023 at 7 p.m. This concludes the November 15th, 2022 regular meeting of the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. The meeting is adjourned at 9:32 p.m. District Clerk Vargas, please stop the recording.